Meeting is called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the December regular meeting of the Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School strives to promote and provide growth experiences in learning, leadership, and living.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
No surprises. No one, superintendent or board member, gets surprised at any time in the meeting or between meetings.
Thank you again, Rich. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Remus?
Present.
Ms. Munoz?
Here.
Mr. Nagel?
Present.
Mr. Sake?
Present.
Mr. Suniga?
Here.
Great, that brings us to Student of the Month.
Lopez names November Student of the Month at West Chicago Community. Always positive, energetic, and is somewhat other students look up to. His creativity shines. Reflecting on his favorite high school memory, Angel shared. Positive role model to encourage others to make our environment a better. First 2-3 years are when you do most good.
Congratulations, Angel. Well done. And now good news of the district.
All I have is
Yep, that's it.
that. I don't have any read anything. Certificate of recognition presented on December 17th, 2024 to Ali.
Yep, right here.
In recognition of your honorable mention for
Congratulations, Ali. Congratulations, Judah. Well done. And that brings us to public participation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of the public may address the Board of Education on any topic. We welcome your comments and will carefully listen to your concerns. We will not be able to engage in a dialogue during public participation, but when appropriate, we will direct the administration to follow up. Presentations are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person, with a total time limit of 30 minutes for public participation. If you are making public comment, please speak slowly so that the translator is able to keep up with you. If you wish to make personal charges or complaints against individual employees, volunteers, or students of the district, we request that you send the board your concerns in writing rather than stating these concerns during public comment. If anyone currently present wishes to make public comment and hasn't already done so, please fill out one of the comment forms in the back of the room and hand it to someone seated at the table. At this point, we received no public comment forms and no electronic comment. So that brings us to reports.
I missed, I had the certificates, but I didn't realize that there was stuff.
You want me to get the young men back in quick?
Are they with Brittany?
Yeah, they're right here. Do you want me to grab them?
Yeah.
I'll just grab them quick.
Yeah, thanks.
Rookie.
Got a do-over. We're not finished with you yet.
So for Ali Nassib, for the past 4 years, Ali Nassib has worked to help take the football program to heights. During the junior year, last year, Ali served as captain of the football team that finished in their regular season with a record of 6 losses and qualified for the IHSA football playoffs for the second year. Ali was recognized at the conclusion of the football season by the All-Conference and Lineman of the Year by the Upstate 8 Conference. Additionally, All-State by the Illinois High School Football Coaches Association. All your great accomplishments. 2024 cross-country season was one for the record books for Judah McLean. Within the Upstate 8 Conference, Judah has been named an all-conference medalist for the past 2 years for his great performance conference cross-country meet. Additionally, this year marked the second year in a row that Judah was at state cross-country championships. At the IHS State Championship this year, Judah was a best time in the 3-mile race of 14 minutes, 5.50 seconds. His time placed him 57th overall out of 236 participants in the accomplishments from throughout his high school cross-country career.
Okay, now we're finished with you. Thank you. Congratulations, both of you. All right, that brings us to reports and information. Director of Business Services report, Dan.
Thank you. A few items to update the board on. Still talking about the pool surge tank and the repairs. So we've had a total of 3 contractors or mechanics inspect the surge tank. We are waiting on 1 contractor to determine if they are interested in performing the work or if their recommendations would be to replace the tank altogether. Replacement of that tank would be a much more costly venture, which would require additional planning and budgeting. At this point, we plan to have a proposal approved by the January board meeting, and the repairs are still expected to take place during spring break. This past Friday, the D94 team met with Allied Facility Partners and DLA, our architects, to discuss the timelines associated with the summer construction projects, as well as the details of these projects. The board should expect to see the recommendations to award the internal construction bid at the February board meeting. The bids for the roof and the parking lots will be separate bid projects that will probably happen in March. For winter break meals, the district is planning on distributing winter break meals this year on Wednesday, December 18th, tomorrow. Parents can pick up meals at door H from 2:30 to 3:30. On Thursday, December 19th, students will be offered free meals as they leave that day. Additionally, on Friday, December 27th, from 2:30 to 3:30, parents can pick up additional meals at door H. We expect to distribute close to 500 meal packs, and each one of those include 4 lunches and 4 breakfasts. In November, administration met with Quest regarding several topics, one of which is the pricing of meals. Since that time, Quest has reduced the cost of the meals from $5.25 to $4.75. The administration and Quest will continue to look for ways to reduce pricing going forward. And lastly, regarding football uniforms, as part of the athletic department's annual uniform purchase, the athletic department has noted that football uniforms are the next set of uniforms to be purchased. Football uniforms are purchased every 3 years, with the older uniforms being sent down to the lower levels. As expected, football uniforms are more expensive than compared to other uniforms. The current quote received from BSN is $25,115.70, which includes 60 new pants and 60 home and 60 away jerseys. Cost to purchase new uniforms in 2022 was $25,570, and in 2019 was $18,219. As you may recall, we do have a contract with BSN for uniform purchases, so we'll ask the board to approve this quote from BSN at the January board meeting. That concludes my report.
Any questions?
Yeah, it wasn't clear. We had 3 contractors look at the surge tank, and we're waiting for the last one, or waiting for one of the 3 to give us a quote?
So we had the initial quote that we received, and then we had 2 other contractors come out. One contractor is still looking at it and letting me know if they're going to recommend anything, whether they think that they can do the repairs or if they think that it just needs to be completely taken out and installed a new one. While the second one that we had come out said, I was going to call the 3rd guy, so talk to him.
Okay. So we potentially have 2 bids, but we have at least 1 right now.
Correct.
And that's a repair or a replacement?
Repair. And that was for, I believe, $29,000 for repair.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your report. Director of Human Services report, Julie.
Dan Oberg, Laura Behrens, Brittany Walker, and I had the opportunity to present at SupportCon through IASBO a couple of weeks ago. Our session, Spin the Wheel of the Communications Wheel of Wonder, was designed to help district office support staff tackle communication challenges in engaging in creative ways. Now, last week, Dr. Dwyer and I met with all first-year faculty members for a mid-year meeting as required by the CBA. The purpose of these meetings is to give new faculty an opportunity to share successes and challenges from the first semester and to ensure that everyone knows exactly where they stand as we head into the last 2 months of the evaluation cycle. Over the past month, I've also had the opportunity to personally meet with 23 of our esteemed WeGo staff members to conduct stay interviews. Every one of those conversations was enlightening, and I appreciate the openness and insights that everyone brought to the process. As a next step, I will begin analyzing the results over the coming weeks and developing an action plan in coordination with the district leadership team. I'll plan to present the findings to the board early this spring. And last but not least, I want to wish you all very happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Julie. Principal's report, Will.
Thank you. So first of all, before we meet again in a board meeting, we will conduct our 8th grade open house on January 8th, 2025. It's the first time I've had to say that year out loud. Letters have already been sent home to all of our 8th graders who are soon to be Wildcats, and the preparations for this very important event are underway. We're very excited. I also want to take a moment to thank our NHS program for the great work that they've done hosting the Wildcat Pride Awards this year. They really go above and beyond and make this monthly event special and meaningful to our students. This is only the 2nd year that we've had the Wildcat Pride Awards, but it is quickly becoming a really important tradition in our school. Over the winter holiday, all of our parents will also be receiving an individualized letter home with a summary of their students' attendance thus far and points of support based upon their current attendance rates. We hope to use this as a jumping off point for more parent involvement and to support those who struggle with regular school attendance. in the area of athletics and activities, besides our boys basketball team playing right now just down the hall. Our athletes are hard at work. All of our seasons are well underway, and they're getting into that middle part of the year and really grinding away. And also in activities, last week we had concerts in all three of our musical areas, choir, orchestra, and band, and all three concerts contain participation from Lehman and Benjamin Middle Schools in their corresponding programs as well. The house was packed all 3 nights, and the students performed very well, and I'm very thankful to all of our associate districts for really supporting our music program, getting their parents in the building before high school starts, and letting all of our music staff make a shameless plug for their kids to select music programming before their course selection meetings. Also, our competitive activities, which include chess, mathlete, scholastic bowl, and speech, are in full swing, have had their first competitions, and are doing really well. In teaching and learning, I want to let everyone know that final exams are upon us. They start tomorrow morning, and you can tell by the anxiety in the hallways. We also, every semester in coordination with our Teachers Association, we host an after-school study session in all content areas. Teachers donate their time, and administration donates nachos, and kids come to Commons for an hour and a half and get to study. It was well attended last night, and it was a great event. And a big thank you to all of our teachers who I know are working tirelessly before and after school to prepare students for the challenging week ahead. I also want to take a moment to really recognize our government teachers and our entire government program for all their incredible work in this semester's legislative session simulation. The event was held on the 6th of December, and it was an incredible display of our students demonstrating civic engagement. Our teachers do an incredible job of framing this entire experience so our students can lead and really be the ones driving the agenda, both literally and figuratively. Additionally, I really want to thank Representative Hirschauer for attending and speaking with our students about her experience as a state representative, as well as State Senator Villa, who also attended and really inspired our students with her words. Since our last meeting, I also want to let the board know that we have administered 2 sessions of the AAPL test. As you may remember from last COW, the AAPL is the test for students to demonstrate proficiency toward the seal or commendation of biliteracy. We will update the board as we learn how those students did, as well as how many students continue to earn the seal of biliteracy throughout the school year. Last but not least, in teaching and learning, last Friday, we sent 4 members of our leadership team to the ROE's year-long workshop on multilingual learners. This is the 3rd of 8 sessions held this year, and our team is bringing back some incredible things and strategies to support our various student populations. I also want to welcome back our board members. One could not be with us tonight, but Ms. Duzing is going to fill in and give not only her report, but also Ms. Narain's report as well, too. And last but not least, the monthly attendance and discipline reports are in your packet.
Thank you, Will. And that brings us to Student Board Representative Report. Lauren.
Okay, I'll start with my report. So, as we head into the holiday season, WeGo will participate in various festivities. During lunch periods, WeGo Global has been selling candy cane grams, which were distributed by Santa and his elves during classes last Thursday. They raised $408, which will go towards combating childhood poverty. Candy cane grams are a fun holiday festivity that students look forward to every year and always support a great cause. This past Saturday, the National Honor Society had our Adopt a Senior event, where we visited the memory care unit at Monarch Landing Senior Home. Before the event started, we decorated the space with paper snowflakes, a large paper Christmas tree, and some winter centerpieces for the tables. For activities, we brought holiday bingo, paper ornaments, and cards for the seniors to decorate. After playing a couple rounds of bingo, there were many happy faces as students could see they were making a difference and the seniors were winning holiday prizes. The paper ornaments were also a huge success, as each of the seniors decorated one for us to hang on the Christmas tree. The event coordinators at Monarch Landing were very impressed with how the day went and with NHS students and are hoping we can come back in the future. In addition to visiting the seniors, NHS will be donating items to the DuPage Care Center veterans. The items are being collected in a den competition between English classrooms. I also wanted to touch on a couple of other projects that NHS has recently done. During the week of Thanksgiving, a kindness wall was posted in one of the main hallways upstairs. Students could fill out a Google form with a message and/or picture of someone they are thankful for. I enjoyed seeing the sweet messages as I walked by on my way to class. Students also held a bake sale at lunch the day before break, where they sold chocolate strawberries, cake pops, and brookies that the food classes made. All proceeds went towards continuing to support and improve the foods department. The treats were delicious and a great way to kick off Thanksgiving break. Just last week, a group of NHS members held a card writing session where they wrote uplifting cards for the nonprofit organization Cards for Hospitalized Children, aimed at brightening the days of children in need. Last Friday, NHS also had a loteria night where community members paid $5 to play multiple rounds of loteria, a bingo-style game, to win prizes. All of these events are considered PLPs, personal leadership projects, that are designed by NHS students to support causes of their choice. Journalism has had a very successful year as they recently attended the JEA National High School Convention for Journalism in Philadelphia and won multiple awards. I'm proud to announce that Allison Dusing, my sister, received an excellent rating in the news writing, which is one of the convention's most competitive categories. Sammy Moshe, Alex Rocha, and Maria Vernado earned honorable mentions in feature writing, first-year photo, and themed photo. Leslie Fireman, the journalism teacher, was one of the 9 winners nationwide for the JEA Rising Star Award. Overall, the students who attended the convention enjoyed sightseeing in Philly, attending workshops, including PhillyCam, which was paid for by a grant from the WeGo Education Foundation, and competing in journalism events. Additionally, Journalism's Wildcat Chronicle has had lots of success with people reading their pieces. They've received 7 Best of SNO or Student Newspaper Online national awards this year for a variety of pieces, including Miley Pegg's photo essay, Play-by-Play, Brick by Brick, which showcases WeGo's football team in action, and Allie Dusing's article, Democrats Maintain Investing in Care Infrastructure Will Improve Economy. In August, Ms. Fireman and 2 students were granted official press passes to attend and cover the Democratic National Convention in Chicago for 2 days. Wildcat Chronicle also started putting out a podcast, Delightfully Delusional, which is a collaboration with seniors Michaela Miller and myself, who are outside of the Chronicle's normal staff. Most recently, they've been releasing What's the Word WeGo, a weekly video segment that's earned over 1K views a week. When it comes to WeGo students, there's a lot to be proud of in terms of academics and activity successes, which is an important value I hope we can bring into the new year and beyond. For Kashika's report, I'm pleased to share that our government full session was a success. 1 bill was passed during the session with the exception of a veto. The event was well organized and provided excellent learning opportunity for our students. We were also fortunate to have Senator Karina Villa join us, making the session both engaging and inspiring for everyone involved. Our robotics team has had an impressive showing, making it to the top 10 in the competition last week. While we faced a significant challenge when our robot's arm broke at the last minute, the team worked tirelessly to repair it on time. This is a testament to their resilience, teamwork, and dedication to excellence. Regarding the peer tutoring program, as mentioned in our previous meeting, we're making great progress. Dr. Dwyer, Mr. Albright, Mr. Wolf, and I will be meeting soon to finalize the plans. We aim to have the program up and running sometime during second semester, providing valuable support to our students. Thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to updating you again soon.
Thank you for those wonderful reports, Lauren. That brings us to Superintendent's report, Kurt.
So we had a minor adjustment to the strategic plan. Our strategic planning consultant, Perry Sodwedell, had an emergency surgery last Friday. So we were scheduled to have our vision retreat Thursday the 19th. We are going to push that back to January 17th, which is a date already on our calendar. We'll then slide the setting direction retreat to February 6th, which is also a date already on our calendar. And then we'll do the recommendation, which will be a 2-hour virtual meeting on February 20th. So the end result will still be a board presentation on March 4th, and then bring it to the board for approval on March 18th. So the end goal still remains the same. Moving forward to Vision 2030. Vision 2030 was developed through an engagement effort that included input from more than 1,000 stakeholders, including locally elected school board members, statewide from the southern tip to northern Illinois. Development of the Vision 2030 blueprint was led by IASA, IASB, IPA, ASBO, IARSS. Vision 2030 is rooted in a shared belief that students learn best and educators teach most effectively when they feel safe and connected to one another and to their communities. Specifically, Vision 2030 provides a roadmap to enhance K-12 public education through future-focused learning, shared accountability, and predictable funding. Vision 2030 articulates a shared commitment to putting systems and processes in place that support all school districts throughout the state, ensuring what works for our kids and our communities. Details, plans, and advanced policy, legislative and fiscal solutions, leverage public resources, and preserve local flexibility and leadership so that the important decisions about curriculum and finance are made closest to home. School districts across Illinois are being asked to express support for the goals and priorities of Vision 2030 by passing a resolution at a public meeting. So my recommendation will be that the Board of Education review the attached information as it relates to Vision 2030 and be prepared to vote on a resolution in support of Vision 2030 at the January 21st, 2025 Board of Education meeting. This will just be a review from III Conference. All of the documents are attached and included in your board packet, including the sample resolution. Moving forward, so the superintendent self-evaluation. The midpoint of the school year is an excellent opportunity to revisit identified goals, reflect on progress, and adjust strategies in order to meet desired outcomes. With that being said, I'd like to walk you through my self-evaluation and then open up the floor for conversation. So you should have a copy of this. I also sent it to you in email. I just want to kind of talk through the format of it to see if you have any questions. So you can see the way that this is formatted. The 3 goals that are identified are the goals that have been listed in my contract when I was hired. The first goal was by the end of the school year 24-25, the superintendent will develop a strategic plan process and timeline and present the same to the Board of Education no later than January 30th, 2025. So right below that, similar to the way we framed out the administrator evaluations, are quarterly goals and quarterly progress updates. Some people like to refer to them as 45-day goals. So the idea would be that every quarter I'd provide you with an update as to the progress towards these goals and future goals moving forward. So you can see quarter 1 goal, strategic planning consultant will be selected and approved by the board, and a timeline for completion will be presented to the board by the end of September 2024. So that was actually the overall goal that was accomplished at the end of quarter 1. Quarter 2 goal was readiness 1, readiness 2, orientation, data retreat, vision retreat meetings will be completed by the end of December. So when I initially put my progress, we were supposed to have the vision retreat on Thursday. So I didn't meet that goal due to extenuating circumstances. So that vision retreat will be pushed back into January. And the final draft of the plan will be presented to the board at the March regular board meeting. So that's kind of the format, just to kind of give you a look into, so it's a snapshot, and it's a continuous improvement process throughout the quarter and throughout the year, as opposed to at the end of the year, hey, oh, by the way, I did all these things, and what do you think? So I want to bring you along on the journey as we go to where you can say, you know what, Kurt, why don't you pause here? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So I think it gives us opportunity for more dialogue around the goals moving forward. So at the bottom then, you'll see that that's where all supporting artifacts related to the goal will go. A lot of those will be linked in through hyperlinks. Otherwise, this will be a 30-page document. So if you turn the page to goal 2, the second goal that was identified for me was that the superintendent will evaluate student performance, including but not limited to the following indices: standardized test, successful completion of the district's high school curriculum, graduation rates, attendance rates, dropout rates. The superintendent will present his findings and make recommendations to the Board of Education no later than April 30th. So you can see there below are a list of metrics that could be used to measure progress toward this goal. However, the strategic plan must be completed prior to solidifying these metrics used to measure student progress. So the first quarter goal was to gather historical report card data in order to establish a baseline for future planning. On the next page, you can see that that's there. It goes all the way back to 2016-17. I can actually go a little bit further back where we actually utilized ACT back to 08 and 09. I have that data as well. Quarter 2, ensure new data dashboard, which is Ahora, is operational by the end of December and begin, well, there's a typo there, and begin analyzing data to assist with second semester planning. So we are making progress with Ahora right now. I think if you were to ask me this question 3 weeks ago, I was not overly pleased with the progress we're making with Ahora from their end. I think they at that time, they overpromised and underdelivered. So there were some very direct conversations to get them refocused on our district. And since that time, we have now a freshman on track dashboard up and running. We're working on an early warning system that should be ready by the end of this week, if not by the end of winter break. Once we have those things in place, then we can start to really dive into real-time data. I know when we first saw the freshman on track data and had a meeting about it, it was really eye-opening because it is instantaneous data. It shows us exactly the students that are having trouble in certain courses. It shows us a heat map as to where the highest failure rates are at the freshman level, and it's updated every night, as opposed to waiting 2 weeks to pull the data. So it's exciting. I just want to make sure that Ahora lives up to the billing here and gets us our last dashboard. So more to come. I'd like to do a presentation here in the spring on Aubrey, just so you can see what we're using. So if you fill the page, these are just a sample of the metrics that we could use down the road. You can see over here, 4-year graduation rate, freshmen on track, post-secondary plan, post-secondary success, so that's percentage of graduates that complete AP, dual credit, or receive career certification. I think that opens up the door to all students, which is extremely important. Student engagement, so percentage of students in clubs, activities, or sports. Obviously, we've got chronic truancy, ACT or SAT data up until this year, then we'll shift over to ACT. And you can see below the historical report card data for your review over the last 8 or 9 years here. Moving to the third and final goal. The third and final goal was the superintendent will evaluate the professional development needs of ISB licensed staff. The superintendent will present his findings and make recommendations for growth and improvement for professional development opportunities provided to the district's ISB licensed staff to the Board of Education by no later than April 30th. So this is good in theory, right? But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The most important thing right now is to develop our 5-year plan, which is going to drive our professional development needs. So if we start to identify professional development needs now, and somehow the plan didn't support that, then we'd have to come back and relook at that again. So I want to make sure that we're taking a very deliberate approach to establishing the plan and the direction of the district first, and then getting teacher input and their voice involved into what they need for professional development moving forward, and lay out a nice detailed plan that supports it year over year. At the very back, last page, is just a narrative that I put together. And this just talks through, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you can see there's some of the things that I'd like to highlight. A lot of this information is also included in weekly updates. It's included in different email correspondence that I send you. But these are a few of the things that I've been working on throughout the first semester. Then at the very bottom is the Illinois Performance Standards for School Leaders. And if you click on that hyperlink there, you can see exactly what those are and how the administrators are measured through the evaluation process, and how all of these 3 goals noted touch on all 6 standards. So it's kind of an overview of what the self-evaluation would look like. Any questions?
You have one question. On your quarterly progresses, you have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. Why not a quarter 4? Because some of these goals may extend past Q3, and we'd want to be able to track that. They're likely to, maybe move into the beginning of the next year and things like that, so.
So Q4 would be the overarching goal. So the way that it's written here doesn't support that. So if I were to write a SMART goal going into next year, I would say by the end of the school year, I will do X, Y, and Z, right? So then those quarterly goals are 45-day progress updates leading to the overarching goal.
Okay, but would we want to document and track that Q4 progress?
Well, that would be the big goal. So I think of goals in terms of, and this is my special ed background, long-term goals, end of the year, short-term objectives. So those short-term objectives build to the long-term goal. So the overarching goal is what I'm actually being measured on. Those quarterly goals are just progress updates. So the big goal will be written as a SMART goal, and that will be my actual goal. I'm just going to provide you updates building to that goal at the end of the school year.
So the quarterly progress are more objectives than goals.
Action steps and benchmarks leading to the final goal.
So basically, the fourth quarter is the goal, the overall goal.
Correct.
Seems there's a piece missing from the instrument because of that. It just looks like we go through Q1, Q2, Q3, and then we don't have anything to bite on at the end.
Go ahead.
I think the overall goal is the fourth, basically. It's written upside down, so you're doing the steps to reach the top goal, the overall goal.
I mean, if everybody's happy with it, that's fine.
I mean, I can always add, I can just reiterate what what the main goal is down in Q4, if that would make it easier to read.
Make it easier for me to understand. We're building up to that. I also would hesitate when we go to the, where is it? I guess not on this format. On the original one, we had points
That'll be on
assigned.
that's the next.
That's the one that we fill
Next
out.
topic. Do we have any more questions than self-evaluation, then I can dive into that? All right. So the evaluation form is in draft form here. It's at the table. So earlier this month, I shared with the board a draft of the evaluation template. This draft has also been included in the board packet. While a final decision regarding the evaluation template does not need to be rendered this evening, I'd like to continue our dialogue and receive feedback this evening and in the coming weeks to ensure we finalize it by the end of March. So you're going to see some similarities and crossover between the self-evaluation and the formal evaluation document. The one thing you're going to notice that's different is that in the formal evaluation document, there has to be a rating system, and there has to be a numerical value attached to it that adds up to 100. So the goals are still the same. You'll see there's still the three goals are the same three goals that you identified for me in my original contract. The quarterly goals are the same as my self-evaluation, right? That hasn't changed. And then the progress would be off to the right side. Metrics and artifacts are still there. The difference is at the very bottom of page 1, it says Goal 1 rating. That's where you as a board, at the end of the year, would decide where does Kurt fall in progress of these goals. Is it unsatisfactory? And I'm not married to any language here. I just wanted to get something on paper. If you don't like the words, let's work through it. Is it unsatisfactory? That'd be 0 to 7 points. Is it needs improvement? 8 to 13. Is it progressing? 14 to 19, or is it exceeds 20 to 25? So the idea would be that each individual board member would fill this out, and then you'd come together and you would take the average of your scores and have one rating to present to me from the board for my overall evaluation. And that would happen for each of the 3 goals. You can see on page 1, page 2 is that second goal. Page 3 is the third goal that we talked about. And then page 4 is the narrative that you can, I would love to get the narrative feedback individually, if you're comfortable with that. And then the actual the evaluation instrument itself can be just a summary of key themes that the board believes are going well or need to improve upon. So again, you're speaking with one voice. That would also account for 25 of the overall 100 points.
So when you say the narrative individually, as in you know which board member said what, or you just get all the comments and you're not sure who said what, but you know what was said?
Well, I like to know who said what. I would like to know that. If some people aren't comfortable with that and they just want to give me the comments, I'm fine with that too. But I'd like to know, because everybody is so different. Personalities are different. The way that I interact with Bob is going to be different than the way I interact with Kathy. And if I'm missing something with Kathy, I want to know about that so I can fix it. If there's no name on it and it's anonymous, I'm like, okay, well, somebody doesn't like this, but I don't know who it is. So now I've got to play the guess who game. So it just allows me more opportunities to improve on an individual basis and as a whole.
So what the board would then be filling out as part of our process would be, each of us would fill out the ratings on the 3 goals and then write whatever thoughts we had on the narrative. That would be what we would then put together, that would then be discussed and then given to you.
Correct. But for the actual evaluation itself, you would summarize on that page the key themes. So you'd have your individual feedback to me. That's not rated. It's more formative in nature. but you would summarize your key themes to speak with one voice and then identify those in that narrative section.
So you'd see the individual comments, but if there were particular categories that the board felt wanted to be, as a board, bring to your attention.
Yep. And I think the narrative can just be very, very personalized. I don't think everybody else needs to see other board members' thoughts on me. I don't think they need to see that. I mean, that can be just between me and that board member.
So what are people's thoughts?
I'm personally fine with it, yeah. Yeah.
And then I want to just point out the last page. The last page is that total overall rating. You can see it meets to 100 points, from 0 to 100 points. And then below that, it's more of a merit-based system. So wherever I fall within the rating would then be the raise that I would be getting the following year. Now, that can work out very well or very poorly for me. I'm aware of that. So what I'm doing in this is I'm betting on myself. Sometimes that doesn't work out, but at least there's a system in place.
Are we comfortable with this process and this format? Okay, now because of some of this stuff being in flux, some of these goals will not be fully completed by the time we go through this process, because based on the time frame for the contractual time frame for the evaluation, we're going to have to, in January, start doing our evaluation process and basically pull that together in February and then and bring it to Kurt. So some of that stuff won't be complete because of this first year. Going forward, after the strategic plan, we'll be able to then, okay, have a discussion, what are the new contract goals going to be for the next year based on the strategic plan, then we'll be in sync for the full cycle. So this first year is going to be a little bit off just because of timing. Questions, everybody good? All comfortable?
Rich, we had a conversation about year one, too, how it's difficult to apply this form to year one. Similar to what Bob's sentiments were, I see that.
As far as I understand, because I've checked around, the March deadline is, and with, if you haven't evaluated your superintendent by March, basically their contract automatically rolls over for a year. Since we have you on a multi-year contract to begin with, one of the thoughts is that we, rather than do an evaluation in March, which is going to be kind of protracted because we haven't really had a full year to evaluate, that with board agreement and your agreement that we, other than, just give you kind of a verbal, so far so good kind of thing, rather than, try and go through the steps we have, it's going to be difficult to do an evaluation after the 6 or 7 months that we've been working with you. So I guess that's an option, and then we formalize it for next year. So that's something I would throw out for consideration.
Or is this an opportunity to, we've got new form, new format, maybe this is an opportunity to test drive the new form, even though it won't be fully complete, fully fleshed out, we at least can see, okay, how did these conversations go? How easy was it? Do we want to make any tweaks for next year?
Yes, but I'm saying we wouldn't necessarily have to do that by the March deadline, because we've got other things falling into place in March with the strategic plan and things like that. That if
You're
we did
suggesting
it,
do the process, but later.
if we did it longer, farther down into the year, I think we might have a better practice.
We're starting
on it.
the discussion for the next year at that point, so you can't really delay.
Yeah, because you need to set the new goals, and also
Yeah.
that'll be after the board election, so there could be new people on the board if you push it too far. And you've really muddied the waters a bit.
With this format and the quarterly sections, I think it might be easier to do it this way, even though, yes, it is a truncated year of evaluation, but we've got enough to, as Bob says, make it kind of a practice run. I don't think will be that difficult to do it. In fact, it might make it kind of easier to get used to the new format. And it will also give you a heads up really early if there is somewhere we need to get redirected before we start on the strategic plan road. So I think it could come into play and being very helpful to do it just the March deadline and kind of.
The only thing that would not fall and meet that March deadline is some of the other things that have to come after professional development. That's not going to happen until after, so that we're looking April, May. Well, April, we'll get something solidified. The metrics will be tight once the board approves the strategic plan, so that's not going to be an issue as to what the metrics are going to be to measure moving forward. But I think the PD, the human element of it, always takes a little bit longer.
But pretty much, goal 3 is going to be the problematic one for going through this round, but 1 and 2 will have enough that we can make a go at doing the evaluation, even if we do it with the early January to February timeframe.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, when we start to do this, we should have some discussion with the board on how we judge the metrics and what criteria we use, so that we're all working together with the same expectations and the same method of judging and scoring. Because I think in the past we've tried some different evaluations and we all went a different direction and then had to come back and redo it. So up front, we should have an agreement on what we're going to use to make our determinations and do our scoring and things like that.
Were there some discussions when you were discussing with Kurt this new format? Were there some discussions on that aspect of it?
Other than the fact that it would make a better evaluation if we were all sort of working from the same metric, the same perceptions. I think that's something that we probably would want to spend a little bit of time on between now and when we actually do the evaluation, that we all have an understanding of what and how we're evaluating.
So ideally, that would happen.
That would have to be
May.
the January regular meeting if we're going to try to do the early.
Well, I'm thinking, if we're looking at the next cycle, when we set the goals for the following year, that's going to happen April, May of this year for next year's goals.
Right, but I think what he's talking about is when we're looking at the percentages on, say, goal 1, I think he's talking about what kind of thought process and criteria are you using when you say, I think it's in this percentage range, or this one, or this one. I think that's what you're getting at? How do you make that rating?
How we're evaluating. Yeah, not necessarily what we're evaluating, but how we're evaluating.
And if we were going to, looking at the contract requirements time-wise, and if we were to do this, by the book, forgetting the fact that we're in flight with the strategic planning, then timing-wise, after the January regular meeting, that's when the board would take these evaluations, fill them out, and then we'd come back to the February COW meeting to have that discussion. So if we're going to have a discussion about how we apply those, the January regular meeting would be the time to definitely do that. So is that something you'd like to propose for the January regular meeting, that we have some discussions on how to make those ratings?
It's a lot harder than it needs to be. You go through, you rate it. Common sense tells you it's all spelled out what's happened. common sense tells you this met it, it didn't meet it, whatever, and then we talk about it, and then we come to some consensus. But to come to a consensus about how we're going to come to a consensus, to have a consensus ad nauseum, why would we even do that? I have more to life than
I tend to.
going on and on and on over that.
I tend to think that that's the reason why you combine all the comments together is you are going to have people that come at things from different viewpoints, and it's really coming to that consensus in the end that matters. Not necessarily in the individual ratings, but in the sum total.
Based on the time frame, we would be having our discussion as a board in executive session after the February COW meeting. So at that point, we would be sharing how each of us were rating these things, and certainly that's a good opportunity if things are like way all over the place, or if, well, most people are this way and somebody's this way, then we could have that conversation. Okay, why did you rate them this way? And have that conversation to try to understand and then put together, okay, this is the voice of the board, how we rate on that. Whether it's literally mathematical averages or if the board just reaches consensus.
You look at the numbers, and if half is here and half is there, then we know that the board's messed up. But if all is here or all is here, then we know this is directly related to Kurt, because the board as a whole is coming with it. If, when you have a huge division, then you know that it's not him, it's us.
Then we'll have a longer conversation.
Yes, we would.
Let's say I'm open to, like, what you're saying, like, having this conversation, like, in January, but I also agree with what Kathy's saying, where I think, like, Kurt, you've done a very good job of, like, kind of laying those out, especially, like, on the quarterly layouts. Also, for me personally, I appreciate, like, the linkage to all the artifacts, right? And that way, again, that could be, like, suffice our, like, research, on top of other things that we find. But I also do appreciate that you're aligning your things with the standards, and then you're looking at, like, you're putting the links down on how you are aligning, like, the standards in your, like, through administration. So, yeah, thank you.
With the exception of the narrative part, which is obviously, open season for any comments that anybody wishes to make, I think the fact that the rest of it is very objective, very focused on the goals, that should help the board to come to speaking with one voice on how we feel those goals have or have not been met.
The fact that the artifacts are there again, that can be something and say, hey, you have
Objective
this or
data.
you don't have it. Yeah, that would fit one of the quarters. And I think that could be a good way for us to kind of see if you're meeting.
Any, you haven't said anything on this. You have any thoughts?
The document's the template's very comprehensive. The goals are very specific, and as Giovanni said, aligned to this. Like there's a lot of clarity. There's not a lot of wonderings, and because they are so specific, and that's the most clarity I've ever seen in an evaluation.
So as a board, are we ready to dive in and give a test run to this after the January regular meeting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rich, are you comfortable? All right, that sounds good. And definitely thanks Giovanni and Rich for working with Kurt on putting together this process.
Okay, one final thing. We've received one FOIA request since the last regular Board of Education meeting. Julie has responded within the required time frame. The request has been included in your packet. This concludes my lengthy report.
Thank you. And that brings us to committee and representative reports. Kurt again.
So a little update here. DEOS TCD, Board of Directors meeting was held on November 21st. The agenda and topics discussed during the open session have been included in your packet. Our next Board of Directors meeting is scheduled for December 19th. LEND, no updates to report from LEND, but there is a virtual session tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to discuss Tier 2 pension legislation. I believe Dan, Gary.
I'm going to try, yeah.
Yeah, Dan and I will definitely be on there either way just to get that update. SACIT, the Board of Directors meeting was held on November 20th, and the Finance Committee meeting was held on December 4th. We continue to talk about the Medicaid annual cost settlement, and we're hopeful that a recommendation will be made at the upcoming Board of Directors meeting. The agendas for both meetings have been included in your packet. The next SACIT Board of Directors meeting is scheduled for December 18th, and the Finance Committee is scheduled for January 8th. And then the DuPage IASA meeting was held on November 20th, where we provided an overview of Vision 2030 by IASA Executive Director Dr. Brent Clark. Our board was able to hear Dr. Clark present Vision 2030 to the joint annual conference last month. That feels like it was almost a year ago. I don't know about you guys. So this concludes my committee report.
Thank you, Kurt. That brings us to future dates. January 21st, 2025, regular Board of Education meeting, and February 4th, 2025, Committee of the Whole meeting. Any open comments from board members?
I dug out, I think, probably our last hard copy of the board policies before we started to change over to press. We've occasionally had some questions about what was the policy before we changed it or lost it. I'm willing to give this to the administration if we have somewhere to keep it, if we ever need to go back and look up, because from my understanding, we don't have an archive copy of all of the policies that we had at one point. So if we're willing to put that somewhere where it's safe and we can refer to it occasionally, maybe wouldn't need to go much farther than 5 years or so, but at least we have the original set of policies and we can see what changed when we moved over to press.
Good thing to have in the archives.
Yeah, we can.
As impressive as a big notebook like that is on my bookshelf, I'm willing to part with it for a while.
I actually have one too, so would you like 2 copies?
We would love to take all of your extra things.
Gary?
Now, if you donate that, what are you going to do when you're trying to fall asleep in the middle of the night and you need some reading?
Mine only goes back to 2007, though. How far does yours go back?
Well, this is 2017, which I think is just about when we started
I wasn't always
moving to
really,
press.
really good about taking the old stuff out. I just put the new stuff.
Oh, so you got the real
Yeah.
archive.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to agree. I think we have to go back and look at some of those things that were omitted through not intentionally and see if we want to recover some of that to put it back in policy again. There's some scattered things we've already run across where it was like, oh, I didn't know that was missing from the current
Sounds like a
language.
project for somebody if they want to like go through, compare, and see if any topics are
Actually,
missing.
I thought we did that already, but
Well,
apparently
we thought we did
didn't.
when we did it originally, but we obviously missed a couple we've identified, so it's
Anyway,
worth doing again.
Merry Christmas.
It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, but different.
Any other open comments?
I would say, have we by chance talked about like any findings or anything like that we've like learned about at the conference in November? Is that something we can put possibly for next month's agenda, where we can kind of talk about some of the things that we learned or things like that?
We certainly can do that.
Awesome.
Anything else? All right, any future issues anybody would like to bring up for future board meetings?
Oh, yeah, I do have one. I think back in the spring of last year, before Kurt came on board, we had a discussion about the fact that because we're separate districts, the high school and then the senders, there's information that we aren't legally able to get as students pass from 8th grade in the sender district to freshman here, and that I suggested that maybe we put together a resolution to take to the IASB Delegate Assembly to propose to the state that they make a law that eliminates that boundary, so that we had the same advantage as a unit district where the information is transparent all the way along. At the time we talked about it, it was a little too late to put together a good resolution proposal to take to IASB, but now this would be a good time to start that. So I would like to maybe get a group together, not a committee, not an ad hoc committee, but maybe 2 board members and administration, and probably work with Dan Boyle at putting together a resolution proposal so that we can eliminate that sort of boundary situation and we have free access to the information that District 33, 34, and 25 would have on the students as they come in.
That'll give administration some time to give some thought and
Yeah.
then come back to this?
There's a document somewhere about how a resolution gets into the system. I think it starts like in April or something like that. So this would be a good time to start thinking about it and putting together the wording for that. So I think a lot of the districts around here that are senders and then high schools would probably benefit for that. Maybe we get together with 1 or 2 of them as well and fortify our position. If not, we can do it.
Any of those districts that are structured as single unit districts like us already have something in place. And Oak Lawn, I think, a gentleman, superintendent from Oak Lawn, said he is one of those. I know Oak Park High School is too, and it may be something somebody could check on with those districts. Like, do you have something that works?
I thought that.
Glenbard, Hinsdale, all of those districts may have something, or, they may be stymied by the legalities. It seems like it'd be an easy
I
thing to
don't
do.
think we want to check with Hinsdale. Anything they do, we don't want to go there.
I thought when this came up, there was discussion that there was some administrative discussion about intergovernmental agreements between us and the districts to enable that sharing, and I don't think the board ever got an update on whatever happened, whether.
I don't know if an intergovernmental agreement would resolve like a statutory kind of thing.
I thought that's what John and Attila were saying, is that IGAs would enable us to share some of that, but we just needed to get those done, but.
We need to pursue that one way or another. Because there's information that I think would be very helpful to us, other than just where students coming in are to be placed as far as delinquencies and truancies and.
Discipline was definitely one of the issues that.
And things like that.
That was an open gap.
That we need, so I think something we should focus
I
on.
think it's not part of the permanent record.
All right, so it sounds like there's two tracks. One, is there anything we can do now, working with our associate districts, to enable us to share that information? And then the second question, does it make sense, and do we want to move forward proposing something to make that even easier and automatic?
We'll put it on the January. Give me some time to talk to the feeder soups and see if we can kind of get the ball. Without
If we're bringing
having-
that up.
Without having to go through that rather lengthy process, if we through an IGA that solidifies that, at least we can, and then we have time then to push it through for a resolution for the state. But I don't want to just wait for the state to allow us to do something if we can do it locally.
The other thought is, in addition to being able to move student records, we may want to think about moving staff records as well. Because again, in a unit district, you have access to everything that's been put in a file, as opposed to now, Center District may not be able to provide us information. Staff members moving from district to district and things like that.
I don't know if that's legal.
That gets a
Yeah.
little
I think
interesting.
it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
That's another discussion.
Uh-huh.
In a unit district, that would not be a problem, right?
Right, but there are definitely
Because then
some
you're one employer.
personal
separate
records
employers.
act provisions that may preclude us from being able to do that. And I also don't know that we would need to do that the same way that we do with student records. Student records flow, personnel records do not.
Because with students, they're going through the different schools. It's
Right.
a given.
Start looking into it.
Yes, I think we deserve as much access as if we were a unit district.
Thank you for bringing that up, Rich. Any other future topics anybody wants to bring up? All right, that brings us to consent agenda. Does anybody wish any item removed from the consent agenda for separate action? Here, that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda for the minutes, financials, and reports, SOPPA approvals, Press Plus 117 second reading and approval, and personnel report as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Motion carries. There being no old business, we move to new business. Item 1, the 2024 tax levy approval. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the resolution establishing the 2024 tax levy for taxes collected in 2025. The resolution to levy certain taxes, to waive their full reading, to authorize the Board President and Secretary to execute the requisite documents, and all said documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. Motion carries. Item 2, Energy Contracts and Diamond Response Agreement. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education grant authority for administration to execute up to a 24-month index adder electricity agreement with the ability to convert to fixed energy rate at proposed price targets, June 2025 through June 2026, 0.04535 to 0.04598 per kilowatt hour, June 2025 through June 2027, 0.04565 to 0.04595 per kilowatt hour, to execute up to a 24-month index adder natural gas agreement with the ability to convert to fixed full requirement rate at proposed price targets, June 2025 through June 2026, 0.4430 to 0.4515 per therm, June 2025 through June 2027, 0.4450 to 0.4565 per therm. Execute up to a 36-month demand response agreement with a minimum of 65% revenue share for the district. That's a mouthful.
Repeat that, please.
Can you
So
explain
moved.
it? Dan, I'm assuming you were checking the numbers as we went.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ramos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, Baker Tilly accrual basis engagement letter. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the engagement letter from Baker Tilly in the amount of $70,000, which includes the restatement of the fiscal year 2024 audit financials and the completion of the fiscal year 2025 audit.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I was trying to find the accrual basis engagement letter, and maybe I'm overlooking something. What we have as an engagement letter looks like the audit engagement letter, and I didn't see anything in there about changing over and the $70,000 cost to move things, so I'm missing something.
And on page 9, it notes the transition to GAAP. And so that's part of that $70,000.
Does it say anywhere what that $70,000 is going to cost us and things? I didn't see any costs on there. And it is
On page 9, it notes $70,000 as a cost.
of the audit.
It's a combined cost of, that the $70,000 includes the fiscal year 25 audit and the transition to follow GAAP procedures for the FY24, so that they can have the updated beginning fund balances that they're going to need as per required by GAAP.
Okay, I'll have to go back, and maybe I'm overlooking an attachment. I guess the other question I had is, rather than go back and redo the audit for 24, wouldn't it make more sense to just do the audit for 25, starting as the accrual basis rather than the other way of doing it? So we don't have to go back and actually redo an audit that's already in the books.
So in order for the fiscal year 25 audit to be comprehensive, it's going to need a beginning fund balance that is correct. And so to have that beginning fund balance correct, they're going to have to go back to the prior year to complete that audit so that the fund balances match up.
Okay, so they couldn't just start with the next audit and do that? Because it doesn't seem like it's something that's got to be done immediately, but just in the long term, we want to get into the gap version.
Yeah, well, it needs to be, the beginning fund balances need to be completed and restated so that they can have a clean FY25 audit. If we did the FY25, then we'd just be kicking it down to the FY26. They would have to go back and restate FY25 and do 26.
They'll have to redo the financial statements so that it's using the new method to get their new starting balance.
That's what they're going to do with
Yeah.
FY24.
Yeah.
They need to go back through, make that accrual so that they have the ending fund balances, so the beginning fund balances for FY25 are good to go.
So they couldn't just start the 25 audit as an accrual?
No, because the beginning fund balances wouldn't agree.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That's why I'm not an accountant.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Zuniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Doremus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Motion carries. Item 4, athletic trainer Kubota purchase. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a Kubota RTV X2 from First Choice Equipment LLC in West Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $22,536.75.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Zuniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Doremus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5, donations. The recommended motion that the Board of Education accept the donations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Zuniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Doremus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
With gratitude, aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6, varsity yearbook agreement. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the agreement with Varsity Yearbook Chicago, Illinois for the printing of the 2025 to 2026 school year in the amount of $16,450.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I did have a question on that, Dan. Maybe you can explain how the purchasing of those yearbooks is actually done through the printer and the students?
So they're going to have a couple options. They can either go straight to Herf Jones and purchase directly from their website, or they can come to our bookstore and purchase those yearbooks.
If they purchase directly from Herf Jones, Herf Jones sends us back the purchase price?
Correct.
Because we're paying up front for all the yearbooks, right?
No, we're not paying up front. No, actually, so $16,000 is the total cost. And if the student buys directly from Herf Jones, then Herf Jones is actually reducing the rest of the cost. And so we're only paying whatever is left over that the students are buying directly from us.
Okay, so the $16,000, that's we're approving the cost of all the yearbooks, but not necessarily planning on writing a check to Herf Jones for $16,000.
Correct. We normally write a check closer to like $9,000 to Herf Jones for the yearbooks.
Are the ones that we sell.
Right.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Doremus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Zuniga?
Aye.
Motion carries. And item 7, the Elmhurst University MOU has been pulled from tonight's agenda per Kurt for future consideration. There's no more action to come before the board tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful meeting. And everybody have a blessed Christmas and a wonderful New Year.
You
Thank you.
also.